Why did Ukraine give up its nukes? As you all may already know, Russia recently invaded Ukraine. One of the reasons why it had the power to do so is, well, Russia is a very large country with a lot of nuclear weapons, and Ukraine is a much smaller country with no nuclear weapons. If Ukraine had nuclear weapons, Russia would be much more hesitant in invading, since the risk of nuclear war would be massive. However, there was a time when Ukraine did have nuclear weapons. But what actually happened to those nukes? Let's take a deep dive and find out. Ukraine and Russia were both republics of a superpower known as the Soviet Union. You might have heard of them. The Soviet Union was home to the world's largest stockpile of nuclear weapons, and there was no one republic with a union that owned them all. They were all owners. However, in 1991, the Soviet Union saw a lot of republics within it start to declare independence. Ukraine declared its independence on August 24, 1991, and Russia declared its independence on December 25, 1991. The Declaration of Independence worried a lot of countries since the fate of over 35,000 nuclear weapons possessed by the now defunct Union was now unclear. Most of these nuclear weapons were kept in Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Belarus. Each country that declared its independence from the Soviet Union kept all of the resources, infrastructure, and military possessions within it. But for the world, it meant 4 new nuclear powers instead of just one. Russia had the largest and most influential republic within the Soviet Union. It had the majority of the Union's population, so naturally, it was considered the successor state to the Union as well. That's why Russia managed to retain the Soviet Union's permanent seat on the UN Security Council, and most importantly, it had control over the vast majority of the Soviet Union's military infrastructure and weapons, including nuclear weapons. Absolutely no one expected Russia to just give these weapons up, and no one really demanded they do it either. But as for Ukraine, Belarus, and Kazakhstan, there was a problem. The world was moving towards ending nuclear proliferation, and there couldn't just be 3 nuclear states on the map. That's why a meeting was held in Budapest, Hungary on December 5th, 1994, between Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Belarus, with the US and the UK also being present. It was called the Budapest Memorandum on Security Assurances, and its purpose was for all 4 of these countries to sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty, with Russia being internationally recognized as a legal nuclear power, and Ukraine, Belarus, and Kazakhstan giving up all of their nuclear weapons to Russia and destroying the rest. The memorandum also included that the territorial integrity of the signatories would be respected, and all of the members would remain politically independent. Russia would be asked to refrain from using force against the remaining 3 countries. It also asked Russia to refrain from using economic pressure or to influence their politics as well. Additionally, the memorandum asked Ukraine, Belarus, and Kazakhstan to seek immediate Security Council action to provide assistance should they become a victim of an act of aggression or an object of threat of aggression in which nuclear weapons are used. Fast forward to 2022, and it's clear that there was at least one country that didn't respect the terms of this agreement. But the wording isn't what's important here. The agreement asked Russia to refrain from using force against Ukraine. It didn't outright ban them. In fact, this memorandum was nothing more than a piece of paper. It wasn't a treaty or a part of international law. Russia could simply throw it in the trash and no international law would be broken. The thing is, at the time, Russia wasn't really interested in invading any country beyond its borders. It wasn't until Vladimir Putin took complete control of Russia in 2000 that the Russian Republic suddenly started taking more irredentist positions, and Russia started to interfere in almost all of its neighbors' politics. But there's also another thing. Ukraine couldn't really control any of the nuclear weapons it had. There were thousands of nuclear weapons placed in Ukraine, and maintaining those weapons costs a lot of money that Ukraine simply didn't have. On top of that, these weapons relied heavily on Russian infrastructure to be deployed, which was something Ukraine couldn't use. That's why, in hindsight, it might seem like it would have been a good idea for Ukraine to keep the weapons, but in reality, Ukraine would just have a bunch of nukes that it couldn't use. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Ukraine could have found a way to make their nukes work? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this. See you in the next one.